thank you, Garreth. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Anytime.
And we were just talking about some interesting things that, of course, we got to just like transition right into it because I want to pick up where we left off. But you were talking about SNL, and you were talking about how SNL is like super important to you, and you think also to the culture in terms of having a platform like that where we can make fun of these people in power, and we can make fun of celebrity culture or all these other things that tend to tie us as a society. So what about SNL grabbed you from the jump? Like, what was like the first thing that got you into SNL, and then how has that changed over time as you've grown up?
It was just I don't know. It from the earliest time that I can remember, my family always had it on, and it is just I feel like all pop culture, art, whatever it is, it's a lens to understand what's happening around you. And SNL's always been political. People try and tell me that it's too political now, and it's always been political.
It's always been political.
It's always like from the beginning. They've used it as a platform to check people, and comedy is a powerful tool for that. And it's important for us to be. I mean, that's the whole point of this country that we're in, is to check people.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is just
designed
one
that way.
It's just one more way to check people. And I realized recently, I don't want him to die, but I am waiting for Lorne Michaels to die, because that story, I haven't found any books or any documentaries on him, but whenever HBO makes their 2-part documentary series on Lorne Michaels, that's going to be one hell of a story.
Yeah.
He has his fingerprint on everything that's made me laugh almost in my entire life. And I didn't realize that until a couple years ago, when I'm like looking at the executive producer.
He's prolific.
Very prolific. And the fact that he has continued to age, because he's not young.
No, he's not young. Yeah.
But he's still, because the hardest thing I feel like as you get old, maybe not the hardest thing, but one difficult thing as you get older is you don't have a connection to young people. You don't have a connection to what makes young people tick. And he's somehow always been able to do that. From the time that he was their age to now, he's 3 times the age of some of the people that are on the show.
Yeah, and that are writing for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he still can find value in those people where a vast majority of people his age would find someone like Pete Davidson to be like disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's a fair point.
Just to give a person like because he's different, even for SNL, a guy like that, he's different, and he's very honest. And so to consistently on a weekly basis give him a platform on Weekend Update to speak his mind is like, I think, important.
I think it is important, and I think that's where he has learned over like the decades of running SNL that he has to trust the writers of the show. Yeah. He has to. Because they're the reasons why things are funny. It's not like he's writing the stuff.
No,
he just knows what to say, like, yeah, we can run that sketch or not. And I always worry about people in his type of position and age that they're going to be way too conservative and not let people go kind of more the liberal leaning like direction. And he surprisingly does actually give them a pretty good leash, I will say.
I would say SNL now is wild. Some episodes, it's like, I can't believe that some of this stuff is on TV, not because it's vulgar or anything like that, but it's like, this is just insane sometimes.
It's outside of the Overton window sometimes.
The Overton window?
So the Overton window is the range of accepted political ideas in the public sphere. So if you want to say, like, let's say at the very far right end of the spectrum, you're going to have the build that wall, and that's in the Overton window. And then on the left side of the spectrum, you're going to have the Bernie Sanders type thing. And although the majority of mainstream media will try to tell you that Bernie's ideas are way too radical and way too wild, they're actually still on they're on the fringe of the Overton window, but that Overton window has shifted dramatically in the course of the last 30 years or so.
Yeah.
So what used to be considered a center left idea is now wildly left, and everything else has been shifted to the right. So that's why you'll get people like Joe Biden, who honestly, I don't understand how he's a Democrat. And in terms of his ideas,
I don't know what he doesn't really convey anything other than cluelessness to me.
Exactly. And so to have somebody like him be considered on the left, even though none of his ideas seem to go inside with that at all.
You're insinuating that he has any ideas.
Well, he doesn't.
Yeah. He doesn't.
And he's been on the wrong side of literally every single issue. Yeah. We could go fucking bar for bar on every single thing that he's been wrong on.
Biden is just he's just the easiest target. I can't believe
that.
And
I picked him as an easy target.
Yeah, he's so easy.
But yeah, that Overton window, people don't realize it, but the acceptable political ideas has shifted so dramatically that ideas that like back in FDR's time were like normal ideas, Social Security and all these other things that were like, that was like the new idea. Now they're considered like, oh, fringe. Like,
yeah, I don't know when did that happen.
It's been a slow shift of I think it really dramatically started shifting after Bill Clinton deregulated the Telecommunications Act of 1996, I think it was.
Yeah.
And when he did that, it created media consolidation where all of these corporations were able to buy up. You used to have a bunch of different radio stations. Now it's like you have Clear Channel that owns the majority of these things, and then you have only 6 companies that own the majority of the media that you're consuming. So they then control what's actually officially allowed, even if you have these like ultra liberal people within these spheres. What's actually allowed to be aired is still stuck within this Overton window.
Yeah, that's
for the most part.
I've never heard of this.
Yes, and I'm not making it up. It's
I don't think you're making it up.
It's a common. It's like it's a known like idea. But the concept is that like what we're seeing now and what is being framed as radical is actually not even that radical.
No, it doesn't feel radical. Like just as a lay person, I'm not like a political expert. I'm not a financial expert. These things, they feel like normal reactions to how the world is changing.
Yes. I mean, we have automation, so we're losing a ton of jobs, and we're not exactly gaining them back. People who are truck drivers are not going to suddenly become an astronaut or an engineer.
No.
That's just not going to happen. So, what do we do for these people? And these radical ideas of basic income, which Andrew Yang has been proposing, or
which, for the record, I think about how much the relief that $1,000 a month would give me,
dude, dramatic.
Like I just think like, oh, if my work paid me $1,000 more a month, I was just like, it would be just a totally different story.
It would be, and not to mention, so an extra $1,000 a month would be game changing for the majority of Americans, which the majority of Americans have less than $500 in their savings.
Yep.
And 90% of Americans have less than $1,000.
Yeah.
So we're talking nobody's got emergency funds at this point.
I've just gotten out of that. Like, I never had, basically, until I got married, I had zero savings.
Yep.
And so any calamity that would occur, whether small or big, it would just ruin me.
Yes. And that's how the majority of Americans are right now, which is why I'm concerned about the economy as a whole, because although the stock market's doing great, that means rich people are doing great. That doesn't mean regular people are doing great.
I don't feel the greatness
coming
on me.
Me neither. America's still not great. I don't know what Trump's trying to do.
I was thinking about, so last night I was at a concert. I was at an incredible concert. I did not expect it to be incredible. I went and saw Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's an interesting combination, but okay.
It made sense because they both love Satan.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, they like Satan. So. Yeah. But there was one dude with a MAGA hat, and anytime that was actually probably the first time I actually saw one in the wild, and it makes me think. And I've thought about this before. Whenever I see that phrase, or and because I know. I don't want to say a victim, but I fall prey to anytime Trump says something stupid. My brain just goes crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, my brain goes crazy.
Yeah.
And I think, what do you want to go back? How you want to make America great again? You want to go backwards. So how
when was it great?
Well, no, not just that, but like the world that we live in is nothing like the world of the past.
So you couldn't even go there even if you wanted to.
It makes no sense to go backwards when everything is moving forward.
Yeah, I agree.
You were talking about automation.
It's a Luddite.
Yeah, it's like, yes, you want to go, you want to turn a bunch of switches off.
Yeah, theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically or whatever. Metaphorically, yes.
Yeah.
You want to turn, it just like, it does not make sense to me, and it is amazing to me that it makes sense to anyone. I mean, it's a great saying in some respect, because of course we want
the
our country
concept
to be
of making
great.
Yeah,
we want our country to be great.
But here's how you make it great again, and I said this on the podcast with Angela: is we need healthcare, so people can't be going bankrupt. The number one reason for bankruptcy in America is healthcare, is not having healthcare and going bankrupt because of a medical procedure that costs way too much money. Which, by the way, we pay more per procedure and we have worse outcomes than every other modern nation that has healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking like comparing it to the UK, Canada, whatever. And I'm not saying that any one of those systems is perfect for America. What I think is that we steal the good ideas from all of those systems, and we try to create something that it works similar.
That sounds like an American idea.
Yes.
Because what was America but a patchwork of everything that had come before
it? Exactly. Right.
Or the things that are happening around it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The things that were happening at that time. So yeah.
Exactly. So healthcare is huge. Something like basic income to offset for automation. So that means that we need to increase taxes on these big tech companies for the things that are creating the automations, right? If you're automating a bunch of jobs, then we need to tax you so that we can at least give some of that money back to the people you just kicked out of the job, right? Then you also need to get out of unnecessary wars, which we keep seeming to wanting to engage in. We're in 7 or 8 active military conflicts right now, and only 2 of them are really considered a war, and then the rest of them are just conflicts, but really, come on, they're wars without congressional approval. And then I think another thing is in our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is at a D, almost an F right now. That means our roads, our bridges, all the things that kind of make our overall situation better. Yeah, we need money towards those things. And so if we can invest back in our own country, stop spending it overseas, and invest in our education as well, it's another huge part about it.
Yes.
Yeah, education is one that throwing money at it alone is not it. It actually needs to be fundamentally changed on how we even teach. Because you could throw all the money in the world at something, which, by the way, it is underfunded, but you could throw all the money in the world at something, but if you're throwing it in the same way that we're doing it, that's not going to work either. Yeah. So it's going to take a shift of how we educate while also allocating more funds towards it. And people going into indentured servitude by having to take out student loans just to go to school, just to get a job that doesn't even really need the school, but they make it a requirement to just weed out people, then what are you supposed to do? You're in a game that you have to play, and then the only way out is to make enough money to pay off the debt, but then no one's paying you enough money to make it out, and productivity is not in line with where wages are at. Productivity is at an all-time high. Wages are nowhere near that in terms of the growth. They have not adjusted for inflation even, and they definitely have not adjusted for productivity whatsoever, which they used to be kind of coinciding with one another. But now we're seeing exponential growth in productivity. We're not exactly seeing exponential growth in pay.
No. I mean, for work for me, it has been growing, but not exponentially.
Yes.
It's it just keeps me on the cusp of survival.
Yes.
That's what it kind of feels like.
Yes.
And do you have student loan debt?
Yeah.
What kind of world do we live in when you have to pay to play to be? I mean, well, the thing is, now that I think of it, with the advent of the internet, we can learn whatever we want whenever we want.
Yes.
However, there is an inherent...
when you're applying for jobs.
Yes.
Oh, I watched on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, that doesn't work.
You
that
put
does
that
not
on
work.
your resume. You're like,
I know.
Well, I watched 700 hours of this on YouTube, so I'm an expert. And you might actually be an expert, but they're going to be like, go fuck yourself. You don't have a degree.
Yeah. And plus, I think there is an inherent benefit of being in a classroom. My parents, they constantly tell me that universities are like liberal training grounds. And that was not my experience.
That wasn't my experience either, because especially if you look at fraternities and sororities, those people are all conservative rich kids. I mean, obviously I don't mean to generalize. I know plenty of awesome people.
That's what it was like in my school.
Well, I know plenty of awesome people who were in fraternities that were not like that, but I know a lot of their fraternity brothers and whatever, they kind of were like that, and it's a conforming thing. It's a culture thing. So, a lot of these people, they're young, they don't know who they are yet, and this gives them an identity. And I can understand how it's easy to associate with that identity, and it's easy to kind of get into that party world. And, I never talked to girls before I went to college, and now all of a sudden I'm at a fraternity party, and there's all the girls available to me, and they want to be with me because I'm in this fraternity. I could see where it's that thing. I was never in that.
You weren't in a frat or anything?
No. I pledged for a couple weeks, and then they got in trouble. And they went on a hiatus for a few weeks where we couldn't do anything. Pledges weren't even allowed to go to the house. And then I was just like, dude, fuck this. And then I just quit.
Frat dudes can smell it on me that I don't belong. I have only been to a frat house a couple of times, and or maybe only one time, and I was chased out of there. Literally, did I ever tell you the story?
No.
It was at Indiana University, and they just knew I didn't belong.
Yeah,
straight up, and it reinforced my beliefs of what a frat house was like, anyways. And they were just kind of cornering me and staring at me, and I was with this girl and we just got out of there. And like they really chased me out and I had to dive into a car. And thankfully, the car that I dove into was a dude I went to high school with.
Wait, why did they chase you out?
Because I didn't belong there.
No, but like what? They were like, hey man, you don't belong here?
Yes.
And they were like, get the fuck out?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Dude,
and
that's
so
horrible.
I mean, growing up, I knew that I was not that kind of person.
Yeah.
And before I even stepped foot in that place, I already had my preconceived notions that I pretty much still hold today. Mm-hmm. And then I went there and I was like, yep, it's as advertised.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you'll always find exceptions, and there are some really awesome people. Yeah, there are some really awesome people in fraternity and sorority. So I want to make sure to qualify that because I know some that were in it, and to me they never fell victim to putting their whole identity around it, and that's where those are the people that people tend to hate are the ones who only like create their entire identity around being a fraternity. Yeah, that's all they have.
Yeah.
That's all they have. Because they don't look for anything else.
Yeah, no, I mean I should definitely say that I've come across plenty of people in fraternities and sororities that are
awesome,
great people. Like Alex Seiler, great guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's where it's like, we'll qualify that statement. That being said, there is a good portion of these people that fall victim to that whole like group mentality and that group think that don't really create their own personality. They don't create their own interests and likes. They just adopt them from the fraternity brother that they think is really cool or whatever. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, growing up in the town that I grew up in, it kind of felt like a breeding ground for like it was a precursor to more of that in college. You know what I mean? Just I wasn't really encouraged too much to be an individual. My school was math, science, and football. Yeah. I think a lot of high schools are like that.
Totally.
If friends I made in Nashville, they would tell me that they went to an arts high school. I didn't even know arts high schools existed until I went to Tennessee.
I didn't until you just said that.
Yeah, I mean, and
didn't know.
My buddy Quentin, he played upright bass in high school. That was he was studying upright bass, and all of his classes pretty much revolved around that or some sort of art. And I just wonder what kind of artist I would be if I had that kind of experience, because I was in my high school, there's 3,000 plus kids and there was maybe 2 songwriters.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't exactly have a lot of exposure to it. Actually, we never even mentioned that you're an artist in the beginning.
That's true.
But yeah, you're a musician. You were in a band, and you have some solo projects that people, and I'll link it in the description, that people can actually catch on Spotify and Apple Music and all that. So they should definitely check it out. Your music's definitely in Joey and I's rotation. We put it in the playlist.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, so how did you end up getting into music then, if you didn't really have that many people who were also into it when you were growing up?
So my sister was definitely an early influence. She set everything in motion, and she got me an AC/DC CD when I was like 10. And then it was like, my personality is very much like when I find something I love, I suffocate my life with it. I really
you become obsessed.
I'm very obsessive, and I learned later that it's just like an Aquarius tendency. Like it's so hard. And like all of the musicians that I love, Questlove, D'Angelo, Q-Tip, not all the musicians I love, but many of the musicians I love are Aquariuses, and they're all obsessive like me. And it's like, oh, that's weird. It's like I'm not like a big astrology guy, but there's some stuff that's just like I can't deny I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it's like,
sure,
there's a cosmic element to it that can't be explained. I don't understand it.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, I'm agnostic about astrology. I think when people get too into the details of it, I think you're listening to somebody telling you what you're supposed to feel.
Totally. I agree.
But then I think there could be elements of like, being born in the wintertime is going to have an effect on who you are, right? As you're growing up at a certain age and with a certain temperature. And I could see where those factors actually do have an effect on you without you even realizing it. But I just don't get so heavy into it that I'm going to read my reading for the day.
Dude, I dated a girl who, soon after we started dating, she made me ask my mom what time I was born. And I feel like that's all you really need to know, because then she like charted me out, and almost everything that we did, she was one of those people that would refer to it constantly.
Got it. To the point where it drove you insane.
Of course. But anyways, back to music stuff. My sister had a guitar in the house. I was young, 8, 9, 10. And it was just something that, I don't know. I think I wanted to prove to my sister that I was as cool as she was.
Sure.
Still trying to prove that to this day. And it was one of those things that once guitar was introduced, I was always someone who, and I still am interested in a lot of different things. But when I was a kid growing up, I remember in 5th grade, I was in karate, baseball, basketball, street hockey for the Park District, football, Boy Scouts. I did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then 5th grade was the year I was introduced to guitar, and then slowly but surely I shed everything, and it was just guitar.
Yeah.
Baseball was the last to go. I started writing songs really early. I don't know why I wanted to write songs. It was just like one of those things that it just felt like the natural thing to do. My dad always talks about the fact that my basement, I would always be in the basement working, playing guitar, practicing, trying to write songs. I would try and write a song, like probably 3 or 4 songs every day, and I would I think I was being melodramatic. I would do it on a legal pad, and if it was no good, I would rip it off the thing and crumple it and throw it across the room. It was very melodramatic. But it's funny to think back because it was just a very natural sequence of events, kind of in retrospect. But I don't know where it came from, because like my sister is a little musical. My parents, not at all. No one in my family is musical. I don't know where I guess it's kind of from my sister a bit, but she was the older sister, so she always kind of kept me at arm's length.
Sure.
But it just kind of grew as I got older, and around 2000, the thing that really broke open artistry for me, I saw Sufjan Stevens.
I'm not sure who that is.
He's a songwriter. He's very esoteric. It was the first time. He was the first music that ever made me cry.
Oh, okay. So he showed you the emotion.
Yes, because up to that point,
up
to that point, my musical tastes were like, I was 16, 17. It was like Blink-182 and Alkaline Trio, very surface level. I mean, there was some emotion there, obviously, but I'd never cried
kind
to
of feel-good music.
Yeah, I'd never cried to a string arrangement before.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And I saw him at the Riv, a dude that I was in a music class with. I was taking a music theory class, and there's this, he was like a savant type music prodigy. Sure. And he noticed my deep interest in music in general, and he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
As far as...
That's important.
I don't know how he perceived that, because he was younger than me too.
But sometimes when people see it, like just getting that reassurance, especially at a young age where you kind of need that reassurance a little bit, having somebody be like, yeah, no, I see it in you. Even when you don't fully see it in yourself, it then makes you believe. And that belief then takes you to that next level where then you will start seeing the results, and then you can start believing in yourself on just a basis of like, well, I'm seeing it happen. But prior to that, you kind of either need to have the belief on your own, or if somebody can help give you that push and that nudge, that's important.
Yeah, I didn't really have, my parents were never like... They never told me not to do music, but they took it about as seriously as they did when I was into yo-yos in 3rd grade. You know what I mean? Like,
so they really they're like, yeah, go ahead and do it, but like they didn't really think like, oh, he's not going to do anything.
It wasn't until after college when they saw like my college band, and they're like, oh, like this is more than just a hobby, and this is more than just like I remember I like recorded music, and like the first thing I ever did, brought it to my mom. First thing she did was like, your voice is no good on this. That was the first time I ever showed anyone anything. And I even like played her some songs like in front of her, which was horrifying. And she was just like, yeah, I mean, this could be better. And so,
damn, dude.
Like, damn, it's not like she's a musical authority or anything like that.
Yeah. So
so, it's not that they were discouraging. It was just that I didn't have this kid that I went to school with. His name was Alex. And he took me to the show, and it was just unlike anything I have ever experienced. And it just unlocked a world of possibilities that still to this day, it was, as far as music and art is concerned, like a before and after moment, like utterly life-changing.
Totally.
And from there, I always stayed in touch with like my musical roots as far as the things I loved growing up. Like I go back to AC/DC once in a while. I still, when Alkaline Trio puts out stuff, they're like I treat them like my like drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. You know, it's like, you're embarrassing, but I love you. But so it's like I still love certain artists still, but from there I really started to spread out and it has not stopped. I kind of took a bit of when I left Nashville, I took a bit of a musical lull. And I'm still kind of like, for a long time, my love and appreciation for not just music as art, but art in general, it is exponential. I remember having thoughts to myself of like, wow, the amount that I love music is like overwhelming, and I can't imagine that I can love it anymore. And then I would have the same conversation with myself a year later. I'm like, oh my God, I do love it even more now. I'm like, well, then surely it can't get my love can't grow anymore. And it would just be the same conversation. Everyone's like, holy shit. Yeah. It's like, I just love this. And it's like, I couldn't get enough of it. It was almost to a fault. It was the only thing that I thought about or cared about from the time I was probably 15 to 25, 26. I mean, I was just inundating myself with it, collecting records, going to shows, starting bands, writing songs, making records. And it was to my friends that I grew up with were like, can you talk about anything else? And it was like something that I really had, I really didn't.
No, I can't.
I don't want to talk about anything else because it was just the feeling, the stuff that was mixing up inside of me, the feelings I was having were too strong to just ignore.
Yeah.
And
that's how you know what you're calling.
Yeah.
When it's something that you can't think, I mean, and you still to this day, even though maybe you're not making as much music as you had been in the past, it's still something that I know you still feel.
No, of course.
That's not gone. Yeah.
I mean, just at that show last night, I mean, it was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I did not anticipate, I kind of my musical path has gone down a more jaded direction just because, I did the Nashville thing and it was a lot.
Let's talk about Nashville a little bit. Actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
So when did you first move to Nashville? Like, how old were you?
I moved to Murfreesboro, which is just outside of Nashville, 2008.
Okay.
And that's where I went to school, went to MTSU.
Right when the crisis happened.
Yeah.
The recession.
Yeah. I don't know if my family really felt that, to be honest. Mm-hmm. My dad's pretty hip to the stock market, so I don't know if it really hit us, and I've never really bothered to ask because that's just a can of worms I didn't feel like opening.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Went to MTSU, studied music business.
Okay.
And minored in journalism, which it's a lot of money, man. And it was good because I made the best friends of my life. I learned. It gave me so much confidence to be able to handle myself as an artist, be able to negotiate contracts, to be able to understand and read contracts. Indispensable.
Yeah.
And then the guys who I became close with, they were on the audio engineering side. And so it was like a perfect storm to make a band because like half of us studied audio, the other half of us studied business. And so we were like our own in-house kind of team. We handled everything.
Yeah.
And so that was an incredible experience.
What was the name of the band?
The band was called The Joy of Painting. So like the Bob Ross show.
The Joy of Painting, dude. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So that shows your appreciation of art as a whole as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
The name came about because I don't think most band names don't come out of anything meaningful. I'm fairly convinced that people are so desperate to find a band name that works. We were just doing word association, not necessarily word association, but it came about. I spent when the name came up, my buddy Kyle suggested it, or he's a keyboard player, and I pulled up. I really didn't know about Bob Ross or The Joy of Painting. I just pulled up a couple episodes. And I'm like, let me just kind of sink into this and see how I feel. I'm like, I'm okay being associated with this. This is fine.
Yeah.
It's not, it's like The Joy Painting was like a Weezer type of power pop band. So it's not like it was calm and relaxing.
Sure.
So there's no real correlation there, but it was just a name.
Yeah. No, that's a cool name.
But yeah, I moved to Nashville proper right after I graduated. We all graduated within a year of each other, some were a year before, some were a year after, but we essentially all migrated. And this was like a big scene. The Murfreesboro music scene was fascinating because it was, and I've talked about this a lot with friends, it really had two parts. I was in like the coffee shop singer-songwriter side, like sad boy and a guitar type of thing. And then there was a more, there was a
commercial?
more experimental side.
Oh, okay.
Way more experimental, like stuff that I've never heard before, similar to experiences like seeing a guy like Sufjan Stevens, where I'm like, my brain wasn't even on that wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't quite understand, because I was still, for a long time, I was like, if it's not 3 minutes and has a chorus that I can remember, I don't care. I was like very much in that camp.
Sure.
So closed-minded, I would say. And then these guys would be around, they'd throw these crazy house parties. The place was called Trash Mountain.
Trash Mountain?
Trash Mountain. And there were other house shows and stuff like that I never really felt quite connected to, because it was just not me. It was just not yet, at least. But then we all moved, that scene, my scene, we all kind of migrated, and then we eventually just kind of, it was perfect, because we all just kind of became friends, because we all came from the same place. The two scenes kind of melded. Mm-hmm. And then the people who were writing experimental stuff, they started writing pop songs. And me, I was trying to, not necessarily like pop songs, like not like Katy Perry pop, but just like catchy songs.
Sure.
Then I started getting more into experimental stuff. And so the lines blurred, and the people that were a part of that scene are still running the show in Nashville now.
Yeah.
We had a really powerful community that was very creative and very, it was like an entrepreneurial spirit. The folks that were a part of that scene were just, that's all they wanted to do. It was just like the life that we lived, and we just wanted to have fun and hear each other and be there for each other. It was incredible. I am so lucky that I got to experience it before it is what it is now, which is not bad, but just so much. And you can't, I would,
there's probably more money in it.
Yeah, I guess I guess, but I don't, it's hard to say. I would say, yes, there has to be more money in it, because the people that are coming to Nashville are people with money. So I would assume that, but it was already hard to be noticed in Nashville when I got there, and the amount of people that are there now, I would be horrified going back to Nashville now, because it's intimidating. It was intimidating then. It's just tenfold now.
How do you stand out amongst the crowd?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how. You have to really be something special. But I mean, there's something special. That's the crazy thing about Nashville, is something special is everywhere. Mm-hmm. Something that you're like, and I was watching America's Got Talent last night or yesterday. Not by choice, but it was just on.
That's how you know you're married, man. You're watching America's Got Talent.
Yep. And
The Voice.
And there's singers on, and other stuff, but the singers I was focusing on, I'm like, man, I know people just as, if not exponentially more talented than the folks on this.
Yeah, but you don't want to sign that contract that they make you sign.
Yeah. the winners
we own all the rights to your music. No, but if you're on,
the winners the losers are the winners.
No, but even if you're a loser, like, they still own you for a period of time after the show's over. Yes.
I've had friends on, not America's Got Talent, but I've had friends on American Idol and The Voice, and I haven't heard anything negative about their experience. Like, I had one friend that made it pretty deep into American Idol, and he didn't have to give up any rights.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah, I think when you get down to maybe top 10, that's when you start signing contracts, or contracts get put in front of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still am, even with the knowledge that I have about those talent shows, I still hear, like, there's a dude in town in Chicago who I was playing bass for, and he was talking about going on The Voice, and I didn't say anything, because it was just like, for the same reason, but, I didn't want to rain on his parade, because it's exciting.
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
It's good exposure.
Great exposure, but I would be cautiously optimistic about anything like that, because they're not interested in you.
No, they're not.
No.
Yeah. You don't matter.
Yeah.
In fact, on a show like The Voice, for example, they care more about the judges than they do about the actual artists.
The dude that...
How have the last few winners done? I've never heard.
Couldn't even tell you.
Yeah. But you know.
But you know who the judges are.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So stupid.
And that's where they flip the script of, like, well, we know these regular people aren't going to be that exciting. We know that they're not going to sell that many records. So our best bet is, let's just double down on the celebrity judges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My buddy who made it deep into American Idol, not too deep, but like top 40 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Me and my mom, we observed that he didn't have a sob story. No sob story. You're not getting on. You're not going to get very far if you don't have something that's going to tug at the heartstrings. It's like you can't just be talented.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Even with The Voice, when people have forgotten that the whole point of The Voice is to not judge on image. Yep. But this guy that was going on for The Voice and he got through the preliminaries, I'm sure he's talented, certainly. Mm-hmm. But it was not a blind audition.
Yep.
And all they were he was telling me that all the feedback he was getting was not about his talent. It was about his image.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's funny because the whole premise of the show.
From the get-go.
Premise of the show is not that.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, but that's where you just got to remember that everything that you see on television now is just so Hollywoodified. Like it's so not real.
Yeah.
Reality TV couldn't be farther from reality.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, some of my favorite pieces of content are people on YouTube because I know that they're genuine.
That's most of the TV I watch is YouTube now.
Meanwhile, YouTube is trying to fuck over those people and trying to make it mainstream.
The only thing that matters is money.
Yeah,
it's the sad reality of.
You know what's annoying is that their stuff would make money if they just made it advertiser friendly. But they're so worried about some white supremacist getting an ad for Coca-Cola on it that they have overly demonetized shit that shouldn't actually be that demonetized. And I don't know how much of it is that they genuinely are trying to protect their image from an adpocalypse, or how much of it is that
Adpocalypse? Hold on, explain that.
So Adpocalypse happened. It's happened now like 3 separate times, where massive demonetization efforts, massive algorithm changes that have fucked over independent creators has continually happened from these big major controversial events, where you had something like PewDiePie, where he said the N-word on a stream, and that hurt a lot of stuff. And he has certainly since apologized. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually think he's a racist. I think he definitely shouldn't use that word. And in the context that he used it was not a great context either, because he used it to just say that somebody was like stupid, right? He was just like, but don't use that word. Use any other word. You can
just
call
stupid is fine.
Yeah, or a fucker or whatever. I don't care, But anyway, so without going too deep into what Adpocalypse actually is, basically big corporations all pulled together and just pushed on YouTube to be like, you guys need to get this under control so our brands aren't hit by this and we get protested. And so then they were like, okay, fine. And so then they really demonetized people, and they got to the point where now it's like everything's getting demonetized on YouTube. If you say
you mean taking away ad revenue.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they're policing.
Yes. Okay. So they're policing with taking away ad revenue. Then they're also hiding suggestions of videos because they're not advertiser friendly. And what they deem as advertiser friendly and not advertiser friendly will also upset you, because all the political commentators, and David Pakman did a really awesome video on this that I'll link in the description because I think this is really important. But basically, all the independent political shows now are losing all of their revenue to the mainstream channels now. So Fox, MSNBC, CNN, they are now getting all of the recommended views that used to go to independent creators, which used to be like a 50-50 split between independent and mainstream media, which is already not fair. Let's just say that again, right? For mainstream things getting 50% versus the
millions of other
thousands of other independent creators that are doing political commentary. Okay, now it's 25% independent, 75% mainstream, and all of these recommendeds are going directly to them. And you can actually look, and he did a breakdown in his video, so he'll do a better job than I am. I'm just paraphrasing this stuff. But he basically breaks down how all the money that used to go to him in the last couple months has dramatically dropped off.
Damn.
That now are directly going to these mainstream outlets. And so, the conspiracy theorist in me wants to say that it's these corporations that know that they're losing this battle, and the only way to win is to rig the game so hard that they can't. That now these independent people can't exist outside of
the corporation being Google, or corporation being the four major
being the media conglomerates that own the stuff that then pressure Google. And then Google's a corporation, so they have no interest in people taxing corporations more. They're not liberal. Joe Rogan always talks about them being super. They're not liberal. Okay, they're corporate, and they're like 100% corporate.
They may be socially liberal.
Yes,
but you put that in a box and it dies there.
Yes, and everything else is corporate, like pro-corporate. So anything that is pro-corporation, pro-money, pro-oligarchy, YouTube is still in favor of because they benefit from it directly. Of course. They're a big corporation. So that's where like that whole thing is its own problem. And so you have all these independent creators now that if you say fuck once, boom, Now you're now advertiser
Is it true that they automatically censor now? Mm-hmm. Like they can track or not? They can tell when you say fuck and then they bleep it.
Well, no.
So okay.
No.
I thought maybe I just misread that somewhere.
But they will, like, for example, my videos, all my podcasts, they actually do have auto-generated English closed captions. And I gotta say, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty good, which means that they know every time I say fuck. So if they're seeing that in there, I'm automatically, and I'm not even trying to advertise on this yet, and maybe I should try turning that on, but I haven't monetized any of my videos on purpose. But if I were to try to, I guarantee you none of them are going to be monetized because of the topics I like to cover, which, hey, if we can't have a platform for it, then what the hell? And then B, all these people are trying to get their revenue from something else. So they're trying Patreon. They're trying like all these other ways of trying to fund themselves so that they're not reliant upon one corporation. But let's be real, dude. YouTube's the only game in town. You're going to tell me Vimeo competes? No, it doesn't. Vimeo doesn't compete.
It's for video nerds.
Yes, it's for video nerds.
It's for college projects.
And yeah, people who make films. Yeah. We'll put short films on there. But like that's not really where, the audience is at. No. And so when you know that the audience is really only, in terms of independent creators, are only on YouTube, and there previously used to be no gate. There used to be no like barrier to you making content. Now there is, and it's not that they're going to stop you from making it. It's that they're going to disincentivize it so you can't live off it. Well, if you're taking away the profit, which is their right, they're a corporation. I'm not going to say that they have to make you monetize it. But it's like if you're taking away the one thing that made YouTube special, then what does YouTube have left? If you're just going to try to turn it into MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, for that kind of stuff, and for any of the other stuff you're trying to put it as like Jimmy Kimmel's clips and all these other, like that's not why I go to YouTube. I don't go to YouTube to watch those clips. Yeah. So you're taking away the one thing that matters for YouTube creators, and you're taking away their ability to make a livelihood, which then prevents them from actually being able to go full-time YouTube. You're then going to make it where it's no longer going to be independent creators and voices.
The quality will go down or go away.
Yes, or go away completely. Yeah. And then, or the only people that can sustain it are the ones who have already built a successful business model. Somebody who's really established, like Philip DeFranco or H3, any one of those like big YouTubers that at least they have some other infrastructure. Like, for H3, for example, they have merchandise that they sell for H3 for their podcast. And then also Hila is an artist and she has her own clothing line, Teddy Fresh. And so they at least have another way of making money, even though they're getting demonetized the fuck out of. And then the other major problem that YouTube is having is copyright claims. So you have Universal Music Group going around. You played 5 seconds of a thing. Boom. I steal all the revenue because we played 5 seconds, because clearly people are going to my stuff.
Do they pull the clip too, or do they just take the revenue?
Sometimes they'll just take the revenue. I have an episode that does not exist on YouTube because I reviewed music, which is a totally fair use of it, by the way. Totally fair use. And it got copyright claimed. I was like, yo, I'm commenting on it and I'm promoting these artists. Are you guys fucking stupid? I'm literally promoting the artists. They're desperate. Yes.
They're desperate.
And they're like, yeah, we reviewed it. No. And so they just said no. So right now I'm blocked in a bunch of countries for that video because it has music that I was giving a review on and giving my opinion on. Like, yeah, I played 30 seconds of it. Sure. Who's listening to my podcast to listen to 30 seconds of a song and then me pause it and talk about it? like
I could maybe understand if it was Anthony Fantano, like the needle drop or something like that. But you don't have a bass like he does.
It doesn't matter. I know. It's all automated. It's content ID.
I know.
And then it's also a combination of manual claims where they will go around. They literally pay firms. This is a whole other conspiracy that we're going down, but this is a real thing.
Oh, it's the internet police.
Yes.
Prince had it's like a company. I know about this.
So there's a company that goes around and basically they will copyright claim for you. You pay them a percentage and then they give you the revenue that they're stealing from other creators that they know are false. But if somebody gets a copyright strike, you can only get like 3 of those before you are out. You're off the platform. You're literally deleted. Even if they're bullshit. And then your ability to fight it back as a small content creator, good fucking luck. Yeah, you're losing that battle. Yeah, even though you might have the totally fair position. And then for you to afford a lawyer to try to battle this out, you're not going to be able to do it. You're fucked. So it's scary to me, and that's why I don't want to put ever all of my eggs in the YouTube basket, because of how much they're basically making it so that, oh, you cursed once, okay, now you're considered not brand friendly. So there are certain brands who will still pay for that because they know that their audience is there, right? But like that's a much smaller pool, and that's also a smaller pool of things that will be suggested via their algorithm that will be recommended to people in the recommended list. And you'd be surprised how many people go down rabbit holes that really are based off the recommended, not just their subscriptions.
Let me ask you this: what categories of content are affected? All categories?
All categories.
Well,
Mostly political has been ultra fucked as far as the latest change.
Yeah.
And this was
when did this change?
So this happened, and it's always an event that starts these things. It's a controversy that trends on Twitter that then creates a problem that Google then has to act on it, right? The latest one was, what's his face? The Change My Mind guy. Like
the meme.
I hate abortion. Change my mind.
Yeah,
What's his name? Steven something.
I don't know.
Fuck.
Is he famous?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, of course. If you're a meme, you've got to be famous.
Yeah. So let me look up his name. Steven Crowder. That's his name. So Steven Crowder basically had been going at this BuzzFeed guy. What's his name? Fucking. See, I'm gonna butcher all these facts now. But basically, Steven Crowder went after this guy who was a BuzzFeed reporter, and he just kept harping on the fact that he's gay. He kept being like this.
Steven Crowder was harping on the reporter?
On the reporter.
That the reporter's gay?
For being gay, because he's gay. But he was being like, oh, this whimsy, and he was using all these terms that were clearly derogatory. He was definitely being a hater, and more than just trying to be funny. To me, it seemed like, no, you're just targeting him. You're just being an asshole, right?
Yeah.
And so he got in trouble for a video that seemed to put a lot of crosshairs on this BuzzFeed guy, and it created a controversy where then they demonetized his video.
Steven Crowder.
Yes. Okay. They demonetized Steven Crowder's video because he was literally targeting. It's harassment, and it is against their terms of service. So they were right in doing that. But then the reason why they said that they demonetized him was because of this shirt he was selling, this merchandise, and all he had to do was stop selling the merchandise, and the shirt was also kind of being a hater on that BuzzFeed guy. So it just
was it some quote that Steven had and then he put it on a shirt or something like that?
Man, hold on. Let me see if I can pull up an article about this because
damn.
It was basically a whole controversy, and Joe Rogan had on David Pakman recently, and they actually talked about this. And I wish that they didn't spend too much time on it because I think David Pakman has some really interesting points of view. But basically, his ads, and it was until he stopped linking to this shirt. It was a homophobic shirt, so for sure the shirt was not great. Let's see. So when one creator does something blatant, Maza. What's his name? Something Maza. That was the name of. Oh, sorry, it wasn't BuzzFeed. It was Vox. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he was and somebody made a supercut, by the way, of all the comments he made against Maza.
That's a reporter.
Yeah, okay. Against Maza, and to me, it was just not funny, and just was you're just hating on him being gay. I don't know, which to me that pisses me off because I'm like, pick something else, man.
Yeah, it's not funny.
It's not fun. It's literally not funny. It's just not funny.
It might be funny if you're in middle school.
Yeah, and the thing is I'm not a social justice warrior. Anybody who's listening to my podcast knows that I think people should be able to say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And he's allowed to say this stuff.
Sure.
And we're allowed to condemn him for it.
Sure.
That's kind of I think he's totally allowed to say whatever he wants as long as he's not actually targeting people to the point where they're literally going to this person's home and fucking them up, right?
I don't think you need to be, I don't think the world needs to label someone a social justice warrior if you're not into people being hateful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because when somebody's being an overly okay, chill out. You're now going way too far.
You've crossed the line.
You crossed the line. You're getting to the point where it's you're now creating enemies with people who otherwise would be your ally. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I draw the line against social justice warriors. I'm I'm for all of these policy things that you're asking for,
mm-hmm.
but this whole policing of people's language, you don't do it. Let people be dumb, and we can shame them for being dumb. But I don't know. So anyway, he had a shirt, and let me see if I can find the shirt. Let's see if I can find the shirt, because the shirt definitely was it was not good. And it was, to me, it was a little bit of hate speech. But do I think that? I think Steven Crowder's a bigot for sure. I'll say it. I'll blatantly say I think he's a bigot for sure. And if you look at his history of stuff, I think he's a privileged white dude. So and I say that as a white dude who I'm a privileged white dude too. I guess I wasn't born with money, but
was he rich and famous before the meme?
I mean, I think he's gotten famous for being controversial. That's literally his whole thing, is being an asshole.
Was he on like Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder?
He's been on Joe Rogan.
What is he known for before the meme?
They got in a whole argument about legalization of weed because he's not for legalization of weed.
Okay.
And so then it like created a whole thing where Joe actually apologized later about that episode.
What?
Yeah, about how he didn't like how he went super hard on him.
Joe went super hard on Steven Crowder?
He went super hard on Steven Crowder because, to be honest, Steven Crowder was just, his opinion's dumb. You know what I mean? But like, it's his opinion, but it's dumb.
People like that, they are, he's someone that does not believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If someone, whatever, as long as you're not hurting anyone, you need to be able to pursue happiness however you can, because, you know, happiness, especially in the culture that we're in, is fleeting.
Oh, this is what it was. Socialism is for, and then it has F with like
dashes.
It's like a figs is what it's supposed to be. And it says socialism is for figs, but it's clearly fags. That's literally what he's trying to say. And so they were basically saying like he needed to remove the link. Originally, so here's the thing. YouTube kind of was being weird. Originally, they said it was his targeted harassment, which honestly, if you look at the supercut of these videos, yeah, it was pretty targeted to me. I don't know. But then when you look at the reason that they ultimately arrived on later, after backtracking and changing their story, YouTube now is saying it's because he was linking to this shirt. And this shirt has Che Guevara on it, and it to me is homophobic. I don't know. I think like this type of shirt is a homophobic shirt.
Sure.
And like what you're trying to imply is saying fags. Yeah. So I get that you're trying to make a joke, but nah, it's not landing for me, dude.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's just
just shitty. The only people who it's gonna land for are people that think like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is who his target audience is. This dude's a provocateur. You know, he's like a Milo type character. And whereas like Milo, I feel like never even believed in anything he said. I think he just liked being a provocateur.
He just wanted the attention.
And I think Steven Crowder, I think also doesn't really believe in anything he says either. I think he just knows what's controversial and he just says it.
Neither does Donald Trump. There's a connecting factor.
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe it. I firmly believe he doesn't believe in anything.
He doesn't.
Except for himself and money.
You know what he believes in? Whatever sounds best in the room at the time.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He just adjusts to the room. So to me, YouTube has a really large problem that stems from multiple situations like this. There's the PewDiePie thing. There's this Steven Crowder thing. That's the most recent one, which is fuck the political channels. And it's going to be what's going to be the next one that then these companies and corporations are going to use as leverage over YouTube to say, hey, you got to continue to demonetize these people who are stealing our ad revenue. Because why? Because no one's paying for cable anymore and no one's paying for this. And so they're feeling like they're losing their money and they feel entitled to it, which you're not. If your shit gets automated, I'm sorry, Blockbuster doesn't exist. Why? Because Netflix came around.
Yeah.
Okay.
A better idea.
Yes. So you don't deserve to exist. You don't have a right to exist just because you're a long handheld stood the test of time company. Fuck you. If somebody comes out and comes with something better, then they should be able to win. And the thing is that they know that they can't win on a level playing field, so they're skewing the playing field.
Do you ever feel like new ideas are no longer welcome in this world?
A little bit.
Like good people with new ideas have no place in this society that we're in.
Well, because cynicism comes in and people are like, yeah, but that'll never work.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, every single idea.
Let's go back to the old one.
Yes, and every single idea that's ever really been passed that has changed, that has dramatically, fundamentally changed the world. You know how many people fucking hated on that idea until people proved that it happened? It's repeated through history. Every single time somebody dramatically shifted the world, there was a bunch of people who were like, that'll never work, and those people are fucking wrong every time.
iPhone. It's so funny going back on those early articles
about the iPhone.
They're so fucking clueless,
and they're so wrong. And now look at it, the iPhone's changed the world. And obviously there are other smartphones, but come on, the iPhone was the one that kicked it off. It's the one that kicked it off, the one that did it right. The one that did it successfully.
I mean, they created the new model that everyone has had since then copied. So I mean, it's I had that thought the other day as far as like good people with new ideas, because you know, AOC getting blasted for the Green New Deal.
God forbid we try to do something.
They were just ideas. It wasn't even a law. It was like, hey, here's some just ideas, and they're kind of crazy, and that's okay. We got to try some crazy shit sometime to see what sticks to the wall.
Yes.
And they're like, fuck you. get out of here, no new ideas. I don't, and so
that goes back to the Overton window.
Yeah.
She's considered outside of it, even though 30 years ago, her ideas would not really even be considered outside of the Overton window.
And and it also, and on the same kind of thought field, and I think I've said this to you before, it's like, I feel like, the words conservative and the words progressive, they have their larger connotations for what people think of them.
Sure.
But in my opinion, progress is right in the word.
Yes.
And why shouldn't we be making progress?
Well, because I liked it the old way.
Yeah. It's like, especially now, it would make a little bit of sense if in some alternate reality, we were stagnant in development of anything, then sure. If nothing's changing, then don't change anything.
Yeah.
But shit is changing constantly. It's overwhelming, and we kind of spoke this before, but it's like progress is the only way that we're going to make these innovations work. It's funny because we were talking about automation and all that stuff.
And I mean, that means progress in policy.
Yeah,
progress. You have to adjust to what's happening in the real world.
That is progress. The word progress and making progress is not aimed at any particular thing. It's just general. Like, I'm trying to make progress as a person. I'm trying to understand my brain and understand the world around me and understand how to be a good person when it feels like, the microcosm that I work within, it feels like there's not a lot of great people.
Yeah. And
so trying to square that and like, well, a lot of people around me are really shitty and I'm trying my absolute best to be as good as I can. And why are they getting away with being shitty?
Well, and that's where part of it is like changing the people who are around you. So changing who you choose to associate with, and then also changing your environment is sometimes helpful. So for me, I felt like I wasn't growing in Florida, so I had to change my environment. I came to Chicago.
Do you like it here?
Oh, I love it here.
Yeah.
I hate the weather, but if I could leave during the winter and come back here in the summer, I'd love to do that.
Oh my God, summer. It's funny. Me and my wife talk about this. Summer is the whole reason anyone comes here.
Yes.
Or lives here. If we didn't have the summers that we have.
Why are you here?
or conversely, if we had nicer weather year round, this place would be an impossible, as far as price goes, an impossible place to live.
Yes. Yeah. The cost of living would be huge because the city is amazing, and when the weather is nice, the city comes alive in a way that it's indescribable.
I've never experienced LA, so I can't compare. I've been to New York. I've had incredible experiences in New York. Never experienced LA, but yeah, something about a beautiful day in Chicago is tough to beat.
It is, and especially because there's a festival. When this kind of weather comes, there's a festival on
every weekend.
There's there's multiple ones on different streets depending on what kind of thing you want to go.
Every
to.
neighborhood
has something.
And then, like with Pride Weekend, every neighborhood was having a different festival at once.
Yep.
And so it's like there's plenty to do. There's great small businesses, and I love supporting the small businesses. And there is so much to offer here, but the pessimism that just infests the city is like, it's been hard for me. It's funny, you came from Florida and you're loving Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs here, went to Tennessee, and then coming back, it's like, whoa. It's like, it's at times just kind of a toxic place. It's very isolating.
Yeah, it can be, and I definitely hear the cynicism in people's voices when I tell them I moved from Florida to here, and they tell me, they're like, "Why would you do that?"
Oh, you don't have to explain to me. I definitely am for. I think you upgraded definitely.
I did. I did. But like still, people say that because of the weather and everything. And I think they overly focus on the negative aspects of the city. When for me, I look at the positive things of the city because there's so many things that are awesome that have fundamentally changed my life since coming here.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure it helps that it coincided with me gaining a sharper focus of what I needed to do to start building towards this direction of like making the podcast and making this all happen. And this is all part of the journey and the growth for me. And I'm not going to be here forever, but I definitely foresee this being, the best spot for me to be.
Launching pad.
Yeah, it's definitely a launching pad. And that's where it's like I create a network here. And one of my goals, and one of the goals that I've recently kind of discovered for myself is I want to unite people here in this city. I think there's a lot of like friends I have in different groups that don't know each other.
Yeah.
That I think would be so cool to like be like, you should meet that guy. Or
Well, I met Joey and he was great.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and I know I haven't spent time with him, but I mean, that doesn't mean I don't want to. It's just,
yeah,
you know, it just hasn't
yeah,
happened.
and come and jam and everything. So, you know, I want to start uniting that and maybe trying to create a more like uniformed culture here in the city. And I like the idea of, you know, one of my big things with my podcast is the human element, right? I want people to tell their story.
Yeah.
I think people's stories are interesting. I think people can learn from people's stories, good, bad, all of those situations. So if I can find a way to connect, you know, musicians and artists and video people and writers, if I can connect all these people, then maybe they start making projects on their own. I don't have to be part of it.
Yeah.
But if I can start like connecting the dots and then we create a culture where, hey, all of us as artists, none of us have that much money. We're all kind of independent and we don't want a corporation telling us what we can and can't do. Let's pool our resources together and let's make some dope shit.
Yeah.
And I think the way you start that is by building relationships. I think you build a relationship before you build a professional relationship.
Yeah, of course.
So I like the idea of connecting people, making friends, you know, connecting myself to all different groups in the city so that if I ever get to a position where I've got some money behind me and I want to make a project, well, I already know musicians that can help me make a soundtrack. I know video people that can help me make video. And then I can bring in the people who I want to work with because I already like them. I already like how they work and I already like what they're about and I believe in them. And then that way it's not just what can you do for me or anything like that. It's like, no, hey, what can I do for you to give you a chance to do what you love and put it towards a project that might actually make some money or might actually be something that people can enjoy?
Yeah, that's in a smaller way, just in a musical way, that's absolutely what I had in Nashville. And, you know, I kind of explained it before with like the guys in the band all studying similar but different things to come together and function as like a business in a way, where we're kind of a factory and we pumped out a bunch of shit. Or not a bunch, but like in a 15-month time period, we put out 3 records. Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah, shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Like building up the, basically you're building a community. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Is I want to build a community here in Chicago. It's an amazing art city and there's so many artists and talented musicians and all sorts of things. And they're not centralized. They're not grouped together. There's these little pockets of people. And if I can start infiltrating all these different pockets and making friends in all these different directions, then I can put people together that maybe never would have met otherwise, but then might actually be perfect for each other in terms of working together.
I remember what I was going to say. I wish in an alternate universe that, and this is a frustration with Nashville, and it just is what it is, but and to a certain extent it was true with some of my close friends, but I really hate exchanging money between friends when you're working on something like that. I wish it was more commonplace to be like, I'll give you my time if you give me yours.
Yeah.
Because time is money.
I prefer that.
Time is money. Like, I don't want to take money from my friends. It feels wrong.
It feels weird, right?
It feels so weird and wrong, and I've done it before.
I'd rather barter skills, honestly.
I'd much rather barter skills. I mean, I've gotten into a lot of really tough conversations with people about this, and you know, it's like, if I'm willing to give you all of my time and give you everything I have, why can't that be good enough for you to do the same for me?
Yeah.
It's like, I know that
not everyone operates that way, though.
I know.
And the other thing that you run into too is like, some people are really passionate people, but they're only passionate about like their own thing. And then you try to get them to do one of your things and like they won't give it to you. Whereas like, I'm the type of person, if somebody else is passionate about something and it's something that I believe in enough, I will put it in as if it was my own thing.
Yeah.
I will put in the effort and I will help in whatever way, and I'll use, like, I'm a very detail oriented guy.
Sure.
So for me, when I'm working on something, I'm thinking about all the little things and trying to get it right, making the shot look good. You know, for me, my background's video, so I'm thinking in that world, and I think about the larger production. And I honestly consider myself a producer. I really do believe that I'm a producer. I'm the type of guy who I can make phone calls and connect
big picture
people.
producer.
Big picture producer.
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy who can put on a bit. I mean, I did this all by myself.
Yeah.
You know, Joey sometimes helps me, but this is me.
Yeah.
I set up this whole thing. Joey didn't help me with this, setting up this one. He wasn't here. And so I know I can do that kind of stuff. So imagine giving me some talented people that I can then use as puzzle pieces for this larger puzzle. It'd be so much easier for me to be like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Like, you're really talented. Your art skills would be useful here. You're a musician. Your skill would be great on the soundtrack. You know, and I could put together a larger production. I need more time. I don't have enough time right now to do more than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with what I'm doing. I've kind of streamlined this process for myself for the most part.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get to the point where this is so automated that I can easily crank this out, and then I want to make other video content. That's really where my heart is I want to make, the podcast is something I want to make as like a staple, something that is just, it's consistent, it's easy revenue for me, and it's also something I enjoy doing because I enjoy having these kind of conversations with people. But then if I can make videos on top of it, really nicely produced stuff where I bring in my friends to help make the music, I'm able to tag them in it and put them on in that sense. And if I end up getting enough viewership where people are tuning into me, that then anybody who I work with gets a little bit of a bump, that's awesome. Yeah. That fucking works for me because I want to help these people. I've met so many awesome people, yourself included, that like I just want to give a platform. I'm like, people need to hear you.
Yeah.
I
totally agree. That's absolutely my mindset as well. Just in my time in Nashville, I came across so many talented people that I always wanted to do my best to help people in any way I could. And if they insisted on giving me money, then fine. But yeah, I always want to prop up my, and it's always so much more rewarding and satisfying when you and your friends can come together and create something that's awesome. And that was the experience with Joy Painting. It was an absolute group effort. I couldn't have done it without everyone that was involved, or if one of them was gone, it would be radically different. Yeah, and maybe it would have been as good, but I wouldn't have been as proud of it as I was and am. I think that probably the thing that I'm most proud of with that time and that creative kind of burst that occurred was that I did it with my friends, and we did it almost with no money spent. Yeah, because before Kickstarter was a thing, I had an idea. I was like, okay, because we wanted to record. We found a studio that would record us like after hours to tape for no extra charge. We had to pay the engineer, and there were some expenses, right? And it wasn't much, but we were 20, 21. I had I had a job on campus organizing mail for the accounts payable department. Oh, okay. So I wasn't getting a lot of money. No. Granted, I wasn't doing a lot either, so you get what you pay for.
Minimum wage, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe below because it was like a student thing,
Sure.
And so we didn't have any money, but I just really wanted to do this. I had, my course and my time in college, I had all of these bucket list things that I absolutely want to do. I want to record a tape. I want to put out vinyl. I wanted to play an in-store at the big famous record store in Nashville and all these different things. And so I typed up a letter and sent it to all of my friends' parents who knew me and loved me and knew how much I loved music, because my friends were my family growing up. I mean, obviously I have my mom, my dad, and my sister, but all of my family is overseas. And so don't have a strong connection with a lot of them. And so I would say almost just as good as my parents saw it, my friends and my friends' parents saw my passion probably more clearly than anyone. Sure. And so I hit them up and we got $1,100, which is all we needed. And that covered the engineer and then the small production costs of we handmade the CDs. So we burned them all on my computer, and we got a printer and we printed off, we printed on the CDs, the album title and the name and everything. And we did everything by hand. It was hand manufactured, probably 400 to 500 CDs. But it got us to, no matter how many units we were producing, it was always $1 a unit. Wow. And which is hard to do because you may or may not know, if you're doing low runs of things, it's always more expensive. And then when you do big runs, I saw so many stupid local bands in Murfreesboro do 1,000 CDs and they'd sell 200 of them. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I need to find a way that I can create as many as I need to keep the cost low as possible. And we devised a system to, if we were doing 1 or 100, it would be $1 a CD. Wow. And that worked really well. And so that was the first album. And then that got us a little bit of attention. And then we got signed to a label who fronted all the costs of the next albums. And so we never spent a dime.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was just us being broke and creative and just desperate to achieve the goals that we wanted to achieve.
And that's where it really comes down to, I think constraints are actually amazing for you.
The best.
Right?
Yes.
Constraints force you to be creative. They force you to be really efficient with your time.
Yes.
Whereas if you have too much money and too many resources, I feel like you end up losing focus.
Yes, absolutely. The times where the most creative times I've had are when there are restrictions. And I think that creativity needs to have restrictions, whether it is space or time, or I've always worked better when the first album was on a time constraint, both in the time that we were in the studio and we were recording to tape. And so we could only do so much. We had definitely restrictions, and that's always the best way to do it. I love creating with restrictions. There was I don't know if they do it anymore, but there was a production company that did something called 24-hour records, where they would put 3 musicians in a studio for 24 hours and they had to write and record 3 songs.
Oh, wow.
And the quality is that these people
surprisingly high.
Insane.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they would come with ideas, like small ideas preformed. Sometimes they would write and they would film everything, and it would be like 15-20 minute documentary per episode, and then all the songs would be streaming on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea.
It is a cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, I never got to do it, man. I really wanted to, but because that's the way I like to create, is under weird stress and in a different environment. If I'm too comfortable, I'll just, my mind will wander, and I'll just get, being too comfortable just never works for me. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if I ever told you, but I used to shoot. I only did this for a few different videos before it all ended up blowing up. But as you know how it goes with, business type things with friends and stuff. But I used to shoot music video, live performances. So they weren't music videos. They were literally a live acoustic performance or whatever.
Sure.
And so we shot the first one in a fraternity house, or it wasn't even a fraternity house. I feel like it was a house of fraternity brothers just a house off campus or on campus or whatever. And so we shot that one, and it was acoustic performance. And then we went and we shot another one in this antique shop. And it was a really cool venue. We actually shot 2 videos, but one of the videos we couldn't use because the exposure of the light when we walked in this one room at the very end of it was a totally mobile one, where he was playing the acoustic guitar. This guy, Matt Fowler, I'll link him in the description. He's super talented artist. He was in Gainesville, and just really, he's got an old folk type sound to him. And we filmed one kind of sitting down in in front of bookcases in the antique shop, and it was awesome. It was my first multicam thing that I directed, where we had some help from he was a mentor of mine in Gainesville, and he kind of taught me a lot about what I know about cameras, more so than even my classes. And
that's always the way it goes.
Yeah, so he helped us out a little bit. He had an extra camera and some equipment, and then we lit it. We shot the whole thing, and I had a shoulder mount thing that I was using I was the mobile cam, and then we had a couple tripod shots. We set that up. We shot another one where it was mobile, and then we just couldn't use it because the very last shot was just too dark, because the exposure from the outside light coming into the windows made it where then it was overexposed. And then we shot another one, and that was the last one we shot. It was in a butterfly garden type environment, and it was really cool. But it was one where our main angle wasn't focused enough on the artist, and I was one of the farther back angles, so I was only useful once he got around this one part of the path. It was like a winding path.
Was the performer moving?
Yes.
Okay, so they were wandering around.
Yes, wandering. It was the 2 of them. So it was Matt Fowler and Austin. I can't remember Austin's last name right now, but and he's a really talented musician as well. They're both really talented musicians, and I was already seeing the potential of a future of that kind of thing, of shooting these. And I loved meeting musicians. I've always loved music, so I've always wanted to be in the music world. And I think part of this podcast for me has also been selfishly, I also want to interview musicians and stuff from that, and keep myself in the music world. And so we used to shoot that, and unfortunately, due to some business relationship things, which I don't really want to get into because I'm not going to put them on blast, because I feel like we're both cool with each other. But initially it was his idea, but it was kind of not really just his idea. We all kind of were coming up with it together.
Sure.
It was the 3 of us.
I see where this is going.
And he wanted it to be his idea, and then he wanted to hire us on as just camera people. I'm like, but I was helping you create it, It wasn't I was just the camera guy. I also edited all of them.
Yeah. You didn't write the song, but the song is not the only product here.
No, it isn't. Yeah, exactly. And so it's unfortunate too, because it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed that. And that was one of the more fun aspects of the creativity part in college for me, was doing that. And I've always still like kind of wanted to go back to doing a little bit of that, with musicians. And luckily, Joey's a musician, so whenever he needs a music video, I have experience. I can do it. But I've always enjoyed that, and the constraints that we had for that, where we had just a couple cameras and
now, do you charge him
lenses,
or you just do it?
Huh?
Do you charge him like Joey if he wanted to make a music video?
I wouldn't charge him. No, as long as he helps. I've been wanting to get a new logo for the podcast. I've been wanting this for a while, and so I already have some ideas on what I want to do for it. And as long as he just helps me make that, because I shot some videos for him earlier. Or I shot like I think I took some pictures for his art or something earlier. So we already kind of like made that agreement that was like a trade. Yeah. But yeah, it's a barter thing. Yeah. To me, it makes more sense where I'm like, I don't really want money from Joey. I'd rather just his time and his skill with Photoshop,
So the hard thing that came into play with Nashville is that stopped happening. The bartering of skills and trade stopped happening when my friends were getting paid all the time to play for other people. And so they're like, well, I mean, and I understand it. It just sucks because like, well, this person wants me here at this time, or they just like, we'll plan something, right? And then a couple of days later, it was like, so-and-so wants me at a rehearsal to pay me.
Sure.
And you're going to get dropped.
Yeah. Well, because if my time is worth this amount and I know that I'm getting paid for this, and then somebody's not going to pay me, even though I like them and I want to work with them, if I need the money, then I'm going to pick the money. So I can understand. I don't even blame people for that.
No, I don't blame people either. It's just, it's hard when it's like,
that it goes like that.
It's hard. It was always hard when it was like my closest friends, like the guys who were in that band or people who were in that immediate circle. And I never gave them a hard time, but it always bummed me out. It's just like, I just want to get this thing done. I have this idea that I just want to do.
And you can't do it alone.
I can't do it alone. I've never been able to do, the couple of singles that I did mostly alone. And, they're good. I like them. But I always imagine the better, in my opinion, the better of the two singles that I have as a solo artist, I had help.
Yeah.
And so I always wonder, I love collaborating while it sometimes can be, it can be difficult, like if you don't match up right, or if there's bad juju going on, sometimes it can be brutal.
Yeah, definitely can.
But I much prefer it because I am very aware of the fact that I do not have all the answers and all the ideas. And Same. I desperately want to be. I'm in my element when I'm the worst musician in the room.
Yeah,
that is almost a requirement. If I'm the best musician in the room, there's something horribly wrong. Something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, I try to surround myself with more talented people than me.
Yeah, it's the only way that I've ever gotten better. It humbles me. It checks me because it's like you might, I would love to have all the confidence in the world, and then there are moments where I do have all the confidence in the world, and obviously confidence is good to have and important, but when you get into that room with someone who is many steps beyond you, it's just like, oh, I have a long way to go. Yeah. I have a long way to go. And but then you also at the same time realize like I'm still in the same room as this person, and I'm gonna that's awesome. That I got really lucky to stumble into relationships or gigs or whatever in Nashville where it's just like I have no business being in this room. There was a band that I played for. So if we want to go back to like my
music stuff,
my musical history, after the Joy Painting broke up, I started another one of my own bands, but also one of my buddies, Micah, he hit me up about playing the lead guitar in his like pop group that he was forming. It's kind of like a female fronted 80s kind of synthy kind of pop thing.
Sure.
And that was the kind of beginning of kind of the end in a lot of ways with the Nashville path, because it was really tough being a sideman in that town.
Yeah.
Because man, the hired guns in that town are no joke. And though I will say, to my credit, I fooled a lot of people for sure, because I was able to join this band, and the other folks who were in the band, and then the people that we would subsequently play shows with and go on tour with are like world-class musicians. And it was, I had to pinch myself at some points because I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, how can this be?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And
a lot of artists have that.
Yeah, and
no one ever feels worthy when they get there.
Yeah, and it was a truly like fake it till you make it, because especially in the lead guitar realm where I have no authority on, I have no lead guitar authority whatsoever. I fooled some people who should not be fooled into thinking that I was an actual lead guitar player. I mean, and you know, I rightfully patted myself on the back in private about it because, you know, just to myself, because it's just a good feeling when you can do something like that. When it really, in some respects, that Maza lead guitar gig it really simplified music for me in a way, because it was, when I listened to it, I'm like, how am I going to play this? Because like I said yes to the gig before I actually heard all the songs. Yeah. And I heard some of the songs, I'm like, how I have made a mistake. Yeah. I'm going to embarrass myself. And I really just focused, and I practiced for, it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks of probably 3-4 hours, 5 hours a day, over and over and over, repetition. And I walked into this kind of like tryout rehearsal and just nailed it. And the other folks in the band, they didn't know I prepared that long. Mm-hmm. They were just like, they just didn't bat an eye. They're like, cool, yeah, like, you know. Yeah,
he's good enough. We'll take him.
No, that was good. And that was kind of the reaction, was like, cool. And which is something so simple as that was so validating. It was like, they don't know. They have no idea.
But you know what that tells, what that story says? That story basically says that because you do have a baseline level of talent, let's like not sell yourself short. You have a baseline level of talent in music, and you're musically minded. So that was important. But it was your persistence and your practice and your dedication that actually leveled you up to above what you thought was your skill level.
So beyond what I thought was possible.
Sometimes our imagination isn't as big as reality could be.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That was good.
It's true.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's usually the opposite, but yeah, in that instance, reality was beyond what I could comprehend. And it's not like these songs were like, it's not like it was Dragon Force or some shit like that. You know, but
through the fire and the flames or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. It's not like it was anything like that, but I mean, it was still challenging, and because not only that, I had to play guitar and keyboards sometimes, not necessarily at the same time, but I would be doing some technically ish complicated riff, and then in an instant would have to switch over to keys, back and forth like that, doing a little bit of singing. I was like, my brain, I loved those shows, especially in the beginning, because afterwards my brain was like on fire. Yeah. And it was just those. It was hard. It was bittersweet, because those, like the sideman stuff, was, like I said, the kind of the beginning of the end, because I kind of felt trapped by it, you know, because like, okay, now I'm a sideman, and then when I try, like I said before, when I wanted to work on my stuff, two things would occur. My friends would need to get paid, and on top of that, I was surrounded by such talent. I felt like my ideas had no value.
You felt like you weren't good enough to stand out from the people you were working with.
With my ideas. Like, I could keep up with them, but my ideas, like whether they were my songs or if I tried to contribute like an idea to an existing song, I felt like I was out of line. Like, you know, and, you know, there was another band I played for, Arlamar, and we weren't allowed in the creative process. Yeah. I felt, and that was the whole band. And, you know, that was intentional probably from the get-go, but that's not something I had experienced up to that point.
Sure.
It was always
always a collaborative effort.
Effort, and people were open to ideas, and that was not the case.
Well, and if you don't feel heard, and this goes in relationships and more than just like art, but if you don't feel heard, like eventually you're going to build up either resentment, or you're going to you're going to lash out.
Yeah.
You know? And like, yeah, I feel like it's important to feel heard, especially in the creative process. Like, that is your contribution.
Yeah.
If you can't contribute on the creative level and you feeling like your ideas are never being respected, then yeah, you're eventually going to want to quit.
Yeah, and especially in the case of Arlamar, it was like the initial band that was formed for the live situation was immensely talented. Like, you know, once again, I was the worst musician in the room, which I was fine with. That was great. Drummer, freak of nature. Keyboard player, classically trained. Reggie, guitar player, dude could shred, dude could do a lot. I felt like we could have done so much if we were allowed to, but we were boxed out.
Damn, and that sucks. But, you know, I think that goes to kind of what we were talking about with constraints, is that you need constraints in order to breed creativity, but you can't have constraints that prevent you from being creative.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference between constraints that limit like what's possible, and so this is what we have to work with, versus no, you're literally not allowed to contribute, and then they box you in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a bitter feeling. And a lot of other like life stuff occurred. I mean, in that time as sideman were some of the most exciting times in a lot of ways. Like the joy painting stuff was smaller scale, but because it was all me and all us, it definitely had a different feeling. But you know, with the two bands I was like sidemanning for, almost every show was sold out. So it was like an event every time we played.
Yeah.
And so that was very satisfying. And
felt like a level up a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it was like best of times, worst of times, because my confidence was both at an all-time high and an all-time low. Like, you know, separating myself
in different ways. Yeah.
You know, my creative energy was not energized. It was not being heard. It was definitely being marginalized. But I got to have all these cool experiences and rub shoulders with people I had no business rubbing shoulders with, which was, you know, it was validating in a lot of ways. But then when it was like, hey, I've got this idea, and they're like, no.
So you were shut down like immediately?
Not like immediately, but that, you know,
the ideas were never implemented.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of it was due to time and money. It was like, you know, I felt like I just needed someone above me to take it to the next level, but no one, I would say, if I'm being optimistic about it, no one quite heard or saw my vision the same way I did. So they just weren't there unless the money was there.
Sure.
So, and like, that's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable.
It was just the reality of the situation, you know? And so then leaving Nashville was rough. It was definitely rough because it was all I knew for a long time. And coming back to, I hated the Chicago music scene when I first was here. When I was growing up here and first started playing shows, I was 17, 18, 19, playing shows in the Chicago music scene was as uninviting as it could be. And then I came back and realized it hadn't changed.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is it still like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, why do you think that is? What's the culture difference between the Nashville scene and the Chicago scene?
There's so much to do in this city. Why would anyone go pay $10 to see your crappy band when there's so much more that they could do instead for $10 or $20? Every band in the world comes through Chicago. That's just music.
Yeah.
And then you have all the different museums and all these different restaurants. It's a food hub. It's a museum hub. It's a hub for so many different things. Music and don't forget visual art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
this is a visual art city.
Music is at the bottom, and then comedies. You have to think how many things are above music in this city. Comedy is definitely above it.
Yeah.
Visual art, museums, and restaurants all above music, and so there's so many better options. And because there's always been more options, I feel like a community...
They can be more selective.
They can be more selective, but a community never had a chance to grow.
Sure.
There's nothing to do in Nashville other than go to shows.
So what could Chicago do to better influence the musicians? You know, like what is somebody like Chance the Rapper, like what could he do since he's now in a position of power that he could help build a better community here to allow more independent artists to thrive?
The biggest problem I've found is that promoters in the city are not promoters. They're gatekeepers to being able to access venues. And they take advantage of young musicians, and they create division in the music scene by when you go to your average local show, and this excludes, like, you know, our friend Vince. This excludes like the shows he plays, like the kind of like gutter punk shit.
Sure.
That is actually a pretty healthy community, but you're never going to get out of that scene.
Got it.
The only thing that thrives in Chicago
that glass ceiling.
Yes, the only thing that thrives in Chicago, not the only thing, but one of the few things musically that thrives here is punk. But punk doesn't really go anywhere. It
doesn't go outside of the punk world.
It doesn't go outside of typically your region. You know, one band that I loved growing up that's still around is a band called Lawrence Arms. If they played the Metro or almost any venue in the city, they would sell it out in a heartbeat. And they could probably do 2-3 nights and sell it out. And they play every year. They don't tour. They're older and they're dads now, so they don't quite do as much as they used to. But they do 3 nights at the like Beat Kitchen or some Subterranean, some place like that. During Christmas, they'll do 3 shows. Sure. And they sell out in a heartbeat. And so, but when you leave this Midwest region, they can't do that. And the farther they get away from Chicago and the Midwest, their influence and their notoriety just
falls off.
Nosedives.
Yeah, sure.
And so the thing that promoters do in this city is, they did this when I was a kid, and they still do it now, is when you go to your average local show, they ask you who you're here to see. And it seems harmless, but what's happening is, and the other thing that occurs is they make you sell tickets ahead of time. So there's no leeway for people new to the town
to just discover.
To be discovered and to get you can get a chance, but if you're like, let's say you are a 20-something and you come to Chicago for the first time, like you don't grow up here, you don't have friends and family here.
Sure.
You're gonna have a hell of a time because you'll get your first gig, and then you'll go through that routine of like, when people come in to pay, who you're here to see, no one checks my name or your name, whoever this new person is. And so then the second show is going to be harder to come by. And then it's going to happen again, and then it's going to be harder and harder because you don't have a good reputation for drawing people, because that's the only thing that matters. That never happened in Nashville. You'd get 3-4 bands on a bill, and you'd just fill the room. Yeah. And people were open and willing to support whatever was happening, no matter what it was. And that is still a thing in Nashville, and it's a beautiful thing. And I have to say it has a lot to do with the fact that there is stuff to do in Nashville, but you know, primarily it's music. It's going to shows, whether they're big or small. Most people go to see the honky tonks on Broadway, but outside of the honky tonks on Broadway, every night there are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows, and they're all damn near excellent quality, if not, you know, slightly below. And so there's so many options, and most people that live there, they want to see live music, and that's just what people want to do. People just don't want to do that here. Maybe some of them do, but it's not a consistent thing. Yeah, it's not a consistent thing.
There's too many other things, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, so would you ever go back? Would you ever go back to Nashville?
Nashville's tough. Like I said, the reasons I left were not music related, and so it's not an option right now, just because for my family.
Let's say that was an option for your family. Oh. Let's say that was possible to then make money. Both sides could make money.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, my friends there are some of the best people I'll ever know, and I miss them all the time. And they were always so supportive. And even the people who weren't my close friends, I felt a lot of love coming out of that scene.
Sure.
And so, of course I would go back. I mean, I miss it all the time. So, but I would love, the only reservation I have is that it's too big now. And it's, the reasons I would go back are not so much to get back into the music scene, but to be with the people who know me and love me, right?
Sure. Because that's where home is, basically.
Yeah. But I am not adverse to finding and me and my wife have been doing this the last year or so, finding another place that is the size of Nashville what it was 10 years ago,
sure,
or 7 years ago, and finding a place to where I can maybe make an impact. There's a guy
create a new community and
yeah.
take what you learned from the previous experiences and maybe help bring some new guns in.
There's a guy in Nashville named Mike Grimes. He has a record store called Grimey's. I mentioned earlier that like of the bucket list things, there's like playing in store at like the famous local record store. That's the joint.
Okay.
And you know, he is, without Mike Grimes, you would not have what Nashville is today. And if I could do, because he first was a bar owner, or maybe not bar owner, but I think he owned a bar in East Nashville 15, 20 years ago. And he was a person that brought people like the Black Keys to Nashville for the first time. He brought Kings of Leon to Nashville. He booked their first show.
Damn.
He booked the first show in Nashville for Ryan Adams. Or, you know, that didn't age well, but still, like...
Now problematic Ryan Adams.
Yeah, whatever. But, I mean, actually, that one's a tough one because he affected people I know.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, when that first popped up, I was like, this is not going to affect me. And I'm still going to want to listen to him. And then I would go to test that theory, and I'm like, I don't want to listen.
Yeah.
Which was sad for me because he was my hero. Like it's different than the Michael Jackson stuff and different than the R. Kelly stuff. Actually, R. Kelly's kind of similar.
Just give a little context for people who don't know who Ryan Adams is. Why is his situation problematic? I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah. So he's singer-songwriter in the Americana realm. He's he basically his vibe was he would invite women to his studio or into his inner circle, and he would isolate them and pressure them for sex in exchange for producing their record with his notoriety or and using his notoriety. And there were I shouldn't say a lot. There are people that I know that were in that situation with him, because Nashville is a small town and it's a very talented town, and so he'd just be trolling Instagram.
Wow.
And I would imagine, or maybe he would meet through mutual people, that I would
friends of friends,
whatever. And he would do this to Sheryl Crow. He did it to his wife, Mandy Moore. That one was a little bit different. He basically controlled her to think that she wasn't talented, and basically at her peak of kind of, you know, in her mid to late 20s, when that's your time, you know, that's the best time. He suffocated her creativity and her ability to create, because he felt he was better and she wasn't good enough. She can't play any instruments, so she's not legit. And
so shitty.
Yeah, and so he's a shitty dude. And
moral of the story, he's a shitty guy.
And I knew that, and you know, very similar to the R. Kelly thing, because we also know people that were either tangentially affected by R. Kelly, because we're in Chicago. It's a big city, but you know, we know people that are semi-connected to that, or at least know people who are connected to that. So
sure.
It kind of feels similar, but. Where was I? You wanted me to explain Ryan Adams was before that?
I just wanted you to explain Ryan Adams because you were talking about him specifically, like with the Nashville scene. You were talking about how
Mike Grimes. I was talking about So he a guy like if I can go somewhere else in this country and be the Mike Grimes for another community, that is my dream. So he got me some of my first gigs. He is indiscriminate as far as he's not too good to keep finding new talent. He's still doing it. He's got a world-class record store, and he's got 2 venues in town, and he was booking all local acts and some smaller touring acts, and now he's got a much bigger venue, Basement East, on the east side of Nashville, that brings huge national acts. The dude is
prolific.
He's prolific, and he's an incredible influence on the city, and nice dude. Like he would recognize me. Like I would go to a show at Basement East. I remember when Basement East first opened, there was also a connecting like restaurant or it was more of like a deli type of thing. And he said hi to, I was flattered that he even remembered who I was. And he's just one of those guys that he's one of the coolest people I've ever met and one of the kindest people I've ever met. And if I can bring his energy and what he brought to Nashville somewhere else, then that's is
the dream.
That's the new dream. You know, It's like I've kind of let go of like the rock and roll dream because it, you know, a big decision I had to make when I was deciding to leave Nashville was, you know, the odds of things working out in my favor are low, which I was aware of. And the last thing I wanted was to be post 40, post 50 and alone.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of post 40 and 50-year-old men in Nashville were single, still gigging, like not living, they're living the dream for a 20-something, but it's exhausting when you get to that age.
Sure.
And so it's like, okay, do I want to pursue this dream that I have kind of achieved in some smaller way? Like I'm not like a rock god like I wanted to be when I was 12.
Yeah.
You know, but
you were playing shows and you were making music and producing music.
Yeah.
And you were getting paid for it.
And I checked off so many of the things on that bucket list so quickly that I was like, well, I mean, like what more do I really want? And do I want a family more than I want these bigger dreams that, you know, those people that get to the highest level, we all know they're not happy. Ultimately, that success does not make them happy.
Yeah, they have to find it in other things.
They have to find it in other things, and so it's like I got to find it in other things, and I can't be dependent. And it's a constant struggle for me. I can't be dependent on, and I can't use music and my success thereof as a way to measure of my value.
Yes.
It's a dangerous, it's super
very
dangerous. Yes.
You need to find value outside of it, 100%.
Yeah. And so I have been, and I'm always working on it, trying to find value as a partner to my wife. And because that is going to be, I think, more fulfilling when I'm 80 and on my deathbed than some stupid band that I want to play in.
Yeah.
That's
hell yeah, dude.
That was the conclusion I came to. And I would be lying if there isn't a struggle within that to when I'm laying in bed, dying to play a show, thinking about how much I miss it. And then I have to remind myself that when I'm going to be thanking myself when I'm 70.
Sure. Well, I think the key, and this is something that I talk about with the episode with Terrence. So by the time that I release this one, it will be last week's episode. But it's all about balance, you know. And I think for you, you know, a major key will be finding that balance between still being able to play some shows and stuff, but then also like being a good husband to your wife, you know, because you already know that the rock star life alone is not enough for you, and it's not going to be the thing that's going to fully fulfill you. And I think I would warn anybody who's an artist, never put all of your eggs in the artist basket, because it's not going to be enough. It'll fulfill a lot, and you need that. Like I need my creative outlet. I need to be writing. I need to be making these podcasts. I need to be shooting things, because that's something that makes me fulfilled, but it's not the only thing. And I very much need, like, you know, the affection of another person. That's an important part that I learned by being in my last relationship. I realized how important that will be for me in the long term of my overall success in life, so to speak. Having a family, I definitely do want kids, not anytime soon, but, you know, eventually. Yeah. And so finding those things and finding that happiness in more than just the one thing. And so I think that's super important, and I think that's a good lesson to end on. But this has been a lot of fun, Garreth.
Yeah, man.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for having me. I would do it again tomorrow if I could.
Hell yeah. Thank you. And I'll definitely have you on again.
Cool.
All right, cool.
Thanks, man.
We out.